Put your pajamas on, grab a snack, cuddle with a stuffed animal or your favorite human being, and get comfy under those covers. It's story time.
Don don ding ding, don ding ding don don, don 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 ding ding, ding don don, don 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 ding ding, don ding ding don don, don 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 ding ding, don don, don 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 ding ding, don ding ding don don, don 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 ding ding, don don, don don ding ding, don ding ding don don, don 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 ding ding, don don.
The original owner of the earth. She or he, being an androgynous being, is said to be an aspect of Yemayá, the sea goddess. He or she represents the depths of the ocean and is sometimes referred to as a mermaid or a merman. So awesome is his or her powers that his or her followers only invoke him or her rarely. His or her colors are blue or blue-green and white. No specific numbers is assigned to him or her. This is Olokún. Olokún is experienced in both male and female personifications. However, this depends on what region of Africa he or she is worshipped. Some sources say that in specifically West African communities that are adjacent to the coast, Olokún takes on a male form in worship. However, Olokún also takes on a female form. But the interesting thing about this is that Olokún's female form is usually represented in inland communities that are far away from the coast. The name Olokún actually comes from the native peoples of the Edo language from Edo State, Nigeria. Edo or Bini was the primary language of the Benin Empire. And the legend actually says that Olokún first manifested in Benin. Therefore, the name Olokún literally translates to river goddess. More specifically, the word Olokún means owner, and the word Orun translates to oceans. If you just combine them both, we get Olokún, which means owner of the oceans. In other words, Olokún was the ruler of the waters, the space below. On the other hand, Olorun, who we discussed in the first episode, is the ruler of the skies, the Orisha domain. By the way, Olorun is also just another way to refer to the great creator of all, Oludumare. So think of Olorun and Oludumare as synonymous terms. The interesting thing about Olorun is that in his name we also have Olohun, meaning owner, but Orun actually means heaven in the Edo language. So together we get Olorun, ruler of the heavens. Do any of you remember from the last two episodes of the Orisha of the Week series featuring Obatala and Orunla, in which we discussed the creation of the earth and the creation of the mankind stories? Well, there's yet another detail I intentionally left out. I know. I'm full of surprises. So before the creations, there were only two domains. The skies, also known as the Orisha domain that lie above, and the waters that lie below, also known as Olokun's domain. But the interesting thing is that Olokún was never consulted about the creation of the earth nor of mankind. Olokún had no idea what was about to come next. Olokún. Olokún, who had always been the supreme ruler of the waters, became outraged at Obatala's invasion of his domain for the creation of Ife. Remember, the holy city of Ife. Obatala's action had taken Olokún at first by surprise. Remember how we said that Olokún had no idea about the creation of humanity and of mankind? He was not even told about this. And he was not sure what he should do. For a while, he roamed throughout his undersea palace, venting his anger at his retinue of tritons and mermaids. His mood grew blacker with the passing of time, until no one dared approach him for fear of his lashing fury. His anger was duly reflected in the ocean waters, which grew more tempestuous each day. Whew, some big words over there. Tempestuous, meaning very stormy, which is actually a pretty interesting word choice given the fact that essentially Olokún represents ocean waters. So you can imagine just how stormy those ocean waters looked as a manifestation of Olokún's anger. Finally, his seething rage exploded on the surface of the waters, creating a gigantic tidal wave that burst upon the city of Ife, washing away half of the land and destroying many crops and human lives. Obatala was visiting Olofi and Orunla in the sky and was not present during Olokún's destruction of his land. The people who still remained at Ife sent Eshu, the messenger god. And just so you guys know, Eshu is an Orisha, also known as Elegua, who we'll discuss in the future. He is one of those trickster deities. A lot of interesting information about Eshu. Can't wait to get into that. The people who still remained at Ife sent Eshu to bring the bad news to Obatala and to warn him that Olokún's rage remained unabated and that soon all the land would again be covered by his waters. Obatala was naturally distressed by the news and immediately consulted Orunla on the best way to overcome Olokún. Orunla, calm as always, and y'all already know this because we discussed Orunla last time. Orunla told Obatala that he would descend to Ife to take care of Olokún. Among the many powers that Olofi had conferred on Orunla was a great wisdom which made it possible for him to find solutions to almost unsolvable problems. TBT to the information about Babalawos and Orunla. Remember how Babalawos would end up casting spells through these 8 kola nuts in order to gain wisdom and knowledge through Orunla, since Orunla represents divine knowledge. He represents wisdom, everything in terms of the knowledge of the universe. It was therefore easy for him to control the waters and subdue Olokún. He accomplished this by presenting the enraged sea deity with the gold chain used by Obatala to come down from the sky. Do you all remember when we were talking about the creation of the earth that Oludumare instructed Obatala to forge a gold chain to descend from the Orisha domain to earth? This is that same gold chain. Olokún, who is partial to fine jewelry, allowed Orunla to put the chain around him and did not realize his plight until he was unable to move. Orunla took advantage of his surprise to drop him thus chained into the water, where he sank immediately to the ocean floor. He still remains there, bound by Obatala's chain and unable to cover the earth with his waters. To the Yorubas, Olokún's bound explains the law of gravity, which keeps the ocean waters from covering the earth. Olokún represents several human characteristics, those being patience, observation, meditation, endurance, and above all, stability. You heard me right, stability. Some of you might be questioning right now, how is it that this Orisha, who literally destroyed half of the land with a tidal wave, represents stability? Well, this is because he sits at the bottom of the ocean. The gold chain holding Olokún to the bottom of the ocean serves as an anchor to tame the beast, for lack of a better phrase. And what happens when you're put in timeout? Exactly. You learn your lesson. So, Olokún represents the displays of the ocean. From time to time, Olokún still gets angry and causes destruction like hurricanes, tsunamis, floods, etc. It's actually very similar to how you would receive a punishment for doing something wrong. And then those same feelings of anger would reemerge at a later date. Welcome to my childhood. Interestingly enough, worshippers would call upon Olokún for guidance on various things, such as financial stability, meditation, mental health, and water-based healing. In fact, within certain communities, leaders would actually turn to Olokún to protect their reputations and propel them to higher ranks. Within the context of Cuba, however, Olokún plays a very, very unique role. He or she is an aspect of the Orisha Yemayá, the current water goddess. And don't worry, we'll talk more about her sooner than you think. Olokún also has his own set of drums and traditions that are based in Matanzas, Cuba. For those of you who had the opportunity to listen to episode 2 of Ritmos Negros, titled Rumba, Worshipping the Gods of Salsa, you might have learned that Matanzas, Cuba was also known as the birthplace of rumba. Also, during Santero rituals, and Santero just meaning a person who worships Santeria, which is the fusion of traditional Yoruba religion and Catholicism. So during those rituals, Olokún is usually displayed as a smaller aspect of a Yemayá representation or ceremony, just because Olokún is usually not an Orisha that dances in the Cuban tradition. And this is something that you guys will also see in the ceremony video that is posted on our page. And that's all for tonight, folks. Don't forget to check out Olokún's featured ceremony on the Ritmos Negros Instagram and Facebook pages. If you've enjoyed this video and the content so far on the Ritmos Negros podcast, please show your support and love by subscribing, rating, and commenting on podcast apps. I would really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Take care, have a good night, and join me on this journey as we unveil the secrets of the symbol of maternity and womanhood, the owner of the 7 seas and the oceans, the mother of all, Orisha Yemayá. Ciao, ciao for now.